Hello everyone, it's Jin'taan here, and today we're going to be going over the second release in the Fight or Flight Quadrant, which went live on the 28th of January 2020, as well as a small interstitial patch which launched on the 23rd of the same month. The main notable changes in this pair of patches were the tier siding of meta armor repairers, the addition of low-grade Nirvanas, also known as shield slaves, to the Dragonaur Blitz loot table, a major nerf to the emerging conduit PvE sites by increasing the time taken for them to respawn to 10 minutes, and a fix to a bug which made high-sec structures have a longer reinforcement timer than originally laid out in the Kicking Over Castles devblog. First of all, we have features and changes, which opens with a section on balancing, and this describes the tier siding of all of the modules. So if you want to know exactly what your meta modules are going to be turned into in terms of post-tier sided modules, I suggest you check the link in the description and read through that yourself, as it's not overly going to be worth me reading off a list of what things are converted into. The basics that you need to understand, however, is rather than going from Meta 1 to Meta 4, non-Tech 2 armor repairers now are split into Tech 1, Enduring and Compact, with compact armor repairers being easier to fit, and enduring armor repairers using less capacitor, rather than armor repairers simply being better depending on their rarity in the loot table. This is then followed by a small list of stats which describe how these newly differentiated meta armor repairers will actually function inside the game, and generally it should be noted that these changes are a buff to the amount of armor repaired to bring them all up to the Meta 4 level, whilst the capacitor usage and fitting requirements have been altered. So if you have a meta armor repairer in one of your fits, you'll need to check to make sure it still works. Alongside this, all named armor repairers have been set to a meta level of 1, all faction armor repairers have been set to a meta level of 8, and all storyline repairers have been set to a meta level of 6. However, no adjustments have been made to the balance of faction or storyline armor repairers in this patch. Next, in the user interface section, Aura conversation windows will now always show on top of other windows, preventing you from accidentally hiding them during the new player experience. Under the implants section, low-grade Nirvana blueprints have now been added to the loot table of the Dragonaur Blitz, with a higher drop percentage chance than the high-grade or medium-grade blueprints. In the missions and NPCs section, the drop rate of Overseer effects from the final boss of the Dragonaur Blitz dungeon has been adjusted to drop more often the middle tiers of effects to improve the consistency of rewards. And the respawn rates and loot chances for the emerging conduits have been adjusted. In addition to this, it isn't noted in the patch notes, but it appears the difficulty of emerging conduits has also been reduced, although that is from anecdotal sources. Now that concludes the actual gameplay changes implemented to EVE Online over the past 2 patches, but by popular demand we are going to go and read through the defect fixes as well, so that you can get an idea of exactly what bugs have been squashed during that time period. Under the heading Technical, addressed issues around edge cases in regards to tier side mergers for shield modules. Under the graphics heading, fixed a green cloud appearing on the mower with some skins. And under the user interface heading, fixed issue that prevented the deliver to member option in the corporation asset deliveries to work correctly. Fixed issue that prevented users to split stacked items in the corporation hangar. Fixed the show info window for mutaplasmids, fixed an issue where warp to objective was no longer possible from within the mission talk to agent text, fixed a problem which prevented shared bookmarks from displaying in the sensor overlay, fixed an issue that prevented Control-C from copying out various number fields, and finally under gameplay, fixed a problem with some epic arc missions where the mission could not be accepted correctly, especially when talking to Tevis Jack. Please contact customer support if your customer was affected by this in the last 24 hours and is still unable to proceed with the epic arc. Although I'll note that this happened on the 17th of January, so your time window has really passed to get help with this. High-sec structures sometimes had a hull reinforcement duration that was a day too long. They will now correctly use the expected duration in Kicking Over Castles devblog, 4.5 days, and then the next chosen reinforcement hour, then plus or minus 3 hours. And restored post-release balanced attributes to Observatory Flashpoint NPCs. Alright, that wraps up today's read-through of the patch notes. I hope you've enjoyed it, and as always guys, fly smart.